Good Thursday morning, foggers. We're almost at the end of the week, and we could check it off one more week of the grind. So tomorrow will be Friday, and we'll be ready to go. So what am I bringing you today? I since yesterday, I kept seeing this recruitment poster floating around Instagram and some different followers and friends of mine. On how the department portrays, they list all the benefits and the good-looking officer in the Class A's at headquarters in front of the vintage car, but they left some things out. So I'm gonna remind you of some of the things that, as a recruit and as officers, are part of the job. I think they should tell you. I think they do a horrible job at lying to you and portraying the way this profession is going to go without telling you all the things. So I'm going to fill you in on just a little bit of the things you can expect, right? So September 28th, 1992 was the day that J.C. Preyeso stopped existing as he was before. And many times I've wondered, man, what would have been of me? How would I have been? Right? And again, we've all discussed already the dysfunction that I grew up with, which is very normal for people like us as first responders, because it draws us to these professions, right? And I've talked to numerous therapists and police psychologists, and we don't have in first responders profession the guy or the girl that grew up with a white picket fence and the chickens and the goats swinging with the tire from the tree. We usually had some sort of dysfunction or a world of shit that we grew up with that drew us to this profession. But September 28th, 1992 was the first day of my academy class, and I can tell you that from day one, I was not the same. And it starts out gradual, but while you're in the academy, it's almost like an indoctrination. They show you the videos of officers that survived these shootings. I remember one guy who had his face, a shotgun blast to his face, and was basically like living out of a hole in his face. And that's how he would eat. And he was able to, through all this mumbled talking that he had because he had lost part of his tongue, how you have to survive the attack, and all those things start to play in your mind. You see all these police videos of officers getting shot, sometimes surviving the encounter, sometimes not. And don't get me wrong, the training under stress in the academy does save lives, because under stressful situations at work, you go right back to that training. I remember my first vehicle pursuit. I was a rookie. I had just been cut loose. I was working midnight shifts, and I remember coming into a commercial burglary with numerous subjects, and I started a pursuit. I remember I ran over one guy, all four tires, and I thought that was going to be an issue, but I ran over that guy and went through a pursuit all over Miami. And I remember the academy not falling into tunnel vision and breathing, and I remember looking around while I was in pursuit, and we got up there about 130 miles an hour trying to get these guys. And we did. We caught a bunch of them and lost a bunch of them. And so, in the academy, you start to put all these things in your mind, and it's like a download of a computer, right? So you graduate the academy and you are chomping at the bit. You're like a ravenous dog wanting to get out there. Not about hurting people or anything like that. You just want to get out there and you want to do good and fight evil and catch the bad guys, and it's all piss and vinegars, right? And what the recruitment posters don't tell you is now you are on different shifts as a rookie, and when you get cut loose, you're going straight to midnights because your seniority doesn't allow you that. So now your spouse is at home on Christmas Eve, Christmas night, New Year's Eve, right? 4th of July, when people are out, you're working. And usually you're working midnight shift, and they're home, whether it's a guy or a girl, your husband or wife or significant other, they're now sleeping at home, or their friends are going out, other couples that you knew before you were quote unquote normal before this job, and they're going out and you're not there, right? So resentment starts to build up because you're never there, because you got to work, right? So you start to work your midnight shifts and you start at night, just a lot of different type of crimes happen because just the bad guys are out there after a certain time. And so you start experiencing these huge adrenaline dumps, right? This intensity, this shaking, these pursuits, these homicides and gunfire and foot chases and jumping fences and all that. And your body starts to experience these emotional roller coasters of adrenaline, right? You're now drinking coffee and you're now trying to stay awake. And then in the morning you get off, like I would get off sometimes. I work 10 to 6, 11 to 7 or midnight. And in K9, I worked even longer hours. But so you get off your shift and now you go to court and you sit in court while, an attorney that thinks they know what they're doing and has absolutely no empathy for you at all. They keep you there all day, right? You've got off at 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning and you're in court waiting, and they're trying to do their little game to satisfy their, bosses and whatever. And 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the guy took a plea, you can go home. So now you haven't slept. So now you got to go home and hurry up and get, 4 hours if you're lucky, and you're so wired that there comes a point that you're not going to sleep, okay? And you get home and now, your spouse, significant other, and kids, they're going on with their life. They got their normal life, right? So you have to come home and your windows are wrapped in foil so your room stays dark, and you're not going to sleep. So you go to work that shift and you ride 2-man with your partner and you say, hey, I was in court. Luckily, he won't be on the same case with you. So he's driving and you're sleeping. You can't get sleep because it's uncomfortable in the car. And I hope by now you're just chomping at the bit to answer that recruitment poster, right? It's a wonderful life. So then, resentment starts to kick in with the significant other because you're not there for all these holidays and birthdays, right? And if it's something during the day, you just got home in the morning, so you're going to stay home and sleep. Well, the kids want to go to the park, right? And so now, mom or dad, significant other, take the kids to the park and you're not there, and resentment starts to set in again, right? And now you start to lose touch with the kids. You know how many calls me and my partners went to at police officers' houses where their kids were acting a fool and going crazy? And I remember looking at that, I'm going, man, this kid's such a piece of shit. It wasn't the kid that was a piece of shit. It was the job that was destroying the officers and the first responders and weren't able to be there for their kids, and their kids were acting out. And you know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of you out there that have dealt with this, right? So let's continue, right? Let's keep going with this wonderful profession that they failed to tell you about in the poster. So now there's resentment with your significant other, right? Because you're not there, right? And then they go to the park and they're taking care of the kids, and you can do what I did, which was you get off at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and your spouse and your significant other, they go to work in their normal life, and then you got to take care of the kid. And I remember begging my baby to please take a nap because I was just like, I didn't know what to do. I was losing my mind. And then of course they take a shit, and it's one of those concrete cement mixture shits, comes out of the diaper and is all over the chair, and throw in all those things, right? So what happens is you start to lose connection with your spouse, right? Because now on weekends or days off when they're there at home, they want you to take out the garbage, right? The pool's getting green and needs chlorine. Hey, did you go to Costco and do your groceries? And because you're young in the department, you have Monday, Tuesday off, Tuesday, Wednesday off, right? So they go to work, they leave you on the couch. They get home, the garbage can's still on the curb. You're still sitting on the couch. You're like a fucking zombie. Why? Because you had all this adrenaline dump and all these emotions and stuff at work, and you get home and you just sit there and vegetate. And your body now, in previous videos that I posted, you saw therapists talk about how the anger starts to develop. And what happens is your body now starts to crave those emotions, right? That high adrenaline stuff, but you're at home, you're sitting on the couch. So the first person that comes through the door and go, hey, you didn't go do the groceries? Hey, why is the garbage can on the curb still? Have you been sitting there all day? And then you lose your shit because your body has this underlying current of desire to be moving and to feel emotion, because that's what you've been doing with these huge adrenaline and hormonal activity that's going through your body, because your body's all out of whack. And I've had numerous spouses tell me, he just sits there. He's like a zombie. Man, she doesn't do anything. You know, the house is a fucking mess. Well, that's what it is. Your body is so into what you're doing at work that when you get back, you just sit there and vegetate. And then at the very first sign of a fight or flight battle, when your significant other or a child or something does something at home, you lose your shit. And you don't even realize it. We just say, no, he's being short-tempered. It's not. It's your body that's craving that movement, right? And those hormones and all that stuff that you do, and your body is seeking that. So eventually what happens is you start to seek that movement through alcohol, through pills, through drugs, and yes, in other people's pants. And we know in our profession, and I told you, I don't get into people's personal stuff, but talking to therapists, right? A lot of us in promiscuity and stuff in this profession, it's not that you're a porn star. It's not that you're in love. You start to search. Your search for those responses takes you everywhere, including with other people, okay? And to alcohol and to pills. And that's how addictions start. Okay, that's where the pain and the cycle, it's a vicious cycle, right? So I know they probably ran out of space on the poster to put all this, but we're just going to remind you guys. So what happens is now you lose connection with your spouse. You're no longer the same person they knew from before, right? Now you don't want to deal with their shit because you're tired and you're going through all this emotional stuff. And it's these two things that start to combat each other. And then throw in little Johnny and little Debbie, and they want to go to the park on the weekend, and you're fucking exhausted, especially if you're working midnights. And your body is just not gonna do those calm things. And it's vicious. And we don't know this. I mean, we start to live a life and we get angry, short-tempered. We don't want to go to the park. We don't want to play baseball, right? So what do we do from there? It gets better. So we go and we try to fill that void, right? Living above our means. Go buy the Corvette. I remember I bought a brand new Corvette. I had a Suburban. And we went on cruises and we traveled, right? And what you're doing is you're living above your means and you're filling or trying to fill that void. So what does that result in? When you get that bill of a $700 a month car, oh shit, I got to work off duties. I got to work overtime. So what does that do? Less time at home. And you see, you understand what I'm telling you? It's a cycle that goes on, and you start working more. And I remember the worst feeling that I had was when my wife and the baby would go to sleep. It's 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night, and you are dead freaking tired, and everything in your soul is telling you to jump in bed, and you got to get up and iron your uniform because you got to leave. And then you leave and you start pounding the coffee, and then you start going to hot calls, and then it dies off. After 3 a.m, I couldn't keep my head on my shoulders. It was like, this is what I would do all day, right? Or all night. So, and then in the morning, again, you got to go to court and sit there for some bullshit case that you know is going to get pled out. You've already played the game. You started to learn this criminal justice system that's not working. And sure enough, noontime, if you're lucky, 1 o'clock, hey, he took a plea, or we're going to offer him this, you guys can go. Or give me your number. The worst thing, give me your number and we'll call you if we need you. We think it's clear. And then you get the phone call, and you got to come back to court, and that's even more of a mess. But, these are the things that these posters don't tell you, right? Yes, great benefits, pay, insurance, the whole 9 yards. And that's great. And to top it all off, now that I've given you this little sundae, this little ice cream sundae of all the things that happen, the cherry on top is. And then when you lose your shit and you've looked and searched for that feeling in alcohol and pills, or you have a domestic case against you because you started dating a significant other somewhere else while you're married, right? Adulterous affair and all these things that are going on. And then you get in a little bit of a jam, or you have a little hiccup or a stutter step. Guess what? Nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit. And then you start talking to your partners at work and you realize that that's where the bond comes in as brothers and sisters, because only we get what's going on. You get home and you had like a massive case, a homicide or a child in an accident or a drowning, and you either get home and I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear that shit. Or you tell them the whole story and they're like, yeah, that's fucked up. Listen, the garbage is still, it's still on the curb. And it's not that they don't care. It's just they don't understand. And then that's where our bond comes in. That's why I told you that I heard the other advocate online here telling us that, before people commit suicide and they're in crisis, they don't call anybody else. They don't call their spouse. They call you and I. Why? Because when you tell me crazy shit, I get it. I get it. Been there. Sometimes I still revisit that. Okay? I'm not exempt from that. So, these are the things that they don't tell you on the poster, and that is a crock of shit. They need to be implementing the training. They need to, first of all, as an applicant, they need to tell you like, hey, you're 15 times more likely to commit suicide than any other profession. 15 times. It's almost fishing in a barrel, okay? They need to start with telling you that. And then as you go through the academy, they need to start training you and showing you the field of landmines you're getting into and how to navigate through that. And they don't. And not only do they not, they fail to acknowledge it like it doesn't happen, like all the other shit that's going on in this country. And that is unacceptable, okay? If you're gonna put a recruitment poster out there when the applicants come in, be honest with them. This job is not for everybody. And if you answer the call, right, just know you're gonna pay the price, okay? So that's my message. It's a strong message, but it's an honest message. Been there, lived it, seen it, okay? And it sucks, all right? And I'm very blessed that I have my retirement and my pension and all that. It's not all doom and gloom, but you gotta be honest with people and let them know what it is, If you tell the pilot you're gonna fly this plane, but you go too fast, the wings are gonna fall off. And then you gotta tell them what to do, right? You gotta pull the parachute. You have to be honest with people. This thing that it doesn't exist and it's never gonna happen or doesn't happen is bullshit. Those days are over. They're coming to an end. I'm telling you. You have to tell the applicants and the trainees what's going on and train them and start helping these officers. And with that, I leave you on this Thursday. All right? Take care of yourself. Care for yourself. Care for your partners. Look around. Talk. Feel. Message me, call me. I know what you're going through, been there, okay? Trust me, all right? You have somebody here that loves you and respects you and knows how you feel. I understand it. With that, thank you. Happy Thursday, 3 a.m. fog.